Congratulations on getting Unreal. I remember that it took me forever to get it installed. If it's still installing, well, this is kind of like a sneak peek for you. And at the end of this part, you will be able to make your own arena for your ball to move around in. So when you open up Unreal Engine, you'll see all the previous projects here, but if you'd like to make a new project, there is a tab for that, and whoa! There are a lot of things here already for trying to start a new project. No worries though. These are pre-made templates for the projects you would like to start off with, like first-person shooter. They have one for puzzle, and I guess they have their own version of roll a ball. However, for this series, I'm planning to make roll a ball from a blank project to gain more hands-on experience and know more what's going into making this small game. I'm also going to make a project with starter content, so that way we have materials to decorate your arena or a player. And also down here, this is where you save the project and give the name to the project. So I'm going to call mine Rollerball. If I can type well, tutorial, Rollerball tutorial, and I'm going to create a project. And I'm going to say, no thank you SteamVR, I'm okay. I won't be using the Vive for this series. No SteamVR, stop. And here we are, finally. Never felt more welcome by 2 chairs, a table, and a glassy table decoration. If you feel intimidated already, or you already want to jump ahead, you can just come over here to the modes tab and just place a shape in, place a cube. And there you have it. You can play around a little bit, and what you can do is you can hold down the right mouse button and use WASD to move around like you would as if this was a video game. While you can explore the level, I'll just give you a quick rundown of the editor, or the panels you see in the editor. Starting with the modes panel, and that, well, has different modes which are represented in sub tabs. What we just did is grab something that is basic and just drag it into the scene, or drag it into the world. So this first tab, the one that looks like a box with a mushroom, or I think that's supposed to be a light bulb, is called place mode. There are other basic shapes and entities that you can place into the world from this submenu. As for the paintbrush, this is paint mode. This is for doing vertex coloring and textures, but we don't have to worry about that in this series. Same goes for the other panels. You have landscape and foliage mode respectively. Those two are related to making terrains, and perhaps after this series the arena can be expanded into a beautiful landscape for the ball to roll around in to explore. As for geometry editing, I am not too sure about that. I can get an idea from Unity, but I'm not sure how it really works here in Unreal. If you do happen to know, please comment down below in the comment section. I'll appreciate any explanation about that. And fortunately, again, we don't have to do anything related to it. So all we have to worry about is place mode. If you remember when we made this project, which was probably like a minute ago, we turned on with starter content. Thus, it created this folder called starter content. Go inside of it and go to materials. This is Unreal's default material library that we can play with to decorate with our shapes. Like this cube here, I'm going to give it maybe this random rocky looking one. And then I'm probably going to give the glass to the cylinder. Going to give the sphere a wood. Or I actually like this one. I'll give it to the cube. Over here there is a small panel called the World Outliner, which pretty much displays a list of everything that is inside the world. If you click on the shape, you can see it appear in the list, highlighted. And when you do, you may have noticed that the details page will refresh and give you information about that said object. Where it is in the world, is it rotated, the size of it, the shape, the materials, the physics, etc. And you can rename it here too, so I'm going to call it the cool cube. And you can also do the same thing here when you right click on the object, down to edit, and you see it here, rename. So you probably already noticed that when you move the shapes around, it has this snappy feel. By default, Unreal makes you move, rotate, and scale in fixed increments, which can make level building neat and not have to deal with garbage values in the transform. You can adjust these snap settings individually here next to these little icons that represent move, rotate, and scale respectively. A quick shortcut for them when you have an object selected is W for moving, E for rotating, and R for scaling. And a little trick to duplicate these selected objects, you can hold down Alt and move the arrows. You can think of it as Alt stands for alternative, like it has its own alternate entity, or maybe it's like an evil twin or a good twin, just a little mnemonic device that might help. So with this amount of knowledge, I believe now we can make arenas, which is pretty much the creative part of the series. I'm going to be boring and just add barriers around this floating platform. Keep in mind though, have room for the ball to roll around and for the camera to be able to see a ball at a fixed angle and distance. So I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video and probably explain my thought process. So after I deleted the furnitures, I used the ball as a reference to see how big the arena should be in my preference. I'm also going to make, then the next step was to make the walls. So I used 2 cubes for that and I just scaled them. And I'm going to use Alt to duplicate them. This really saves time and half the work. And then I just go and double check to see if everything is lined up well. Everything is flushed. And I think that looks good. Alright, so that's it for this part. However, if you're coming from Unity, stick around just a little bit. I'm going to attempt to point out the similarities or differences between the 2 engines editor panels. So let me start off with probably the most obvious looking ones. Starting off with the World Outliner, it is just like the Hierarchy tab. Both do display the entities that are in the level or world. The only small difference is that here in the World Outliner, you can see the type of objects that they are. Down here in the Details tab, it is just like the Inspector, where we can see the objects transform, mesh, material, etc. The Content Browser is just like the Project panel, where you can import or organize assets. The Modes tab is pretty unique, but imagine seeing Unity's primitive game objects list instead of in the form of a drop-down like UI element, and when you make a terrain in Unity, you have like settings that are inside itself, inside the game, in the terrain game object. Imagine that they get consolidated into their own dedicated panel, so it's just easier just to quickly drag and drop stuff into the scene or alter the settings from here. So I hope this helped you understand and play around more with the editor. Try finding a layout that you like or feel comfortable with. I'm going to leave it as is, the default layout. And don't forget to be creative with your arena, or if you want to stick to making the box like arena like I did, that's cool too. And I will see you in the next level or part. Bye!